Right, Deb, ready to go live?
Yeah, ready. I think.
Perfect. Sure?
Yeah.
No.
Go for it.
Hey, good evening. I'm Andy.
And I'm Devs.
Stay tuned.
It's Codes of the Unknown.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we are joined tonight by Michael, all the way from the US. So take it over. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Before that, I gotta say that was a really cool intro.
Oh,
Thank you. A lot of hard work.
Andy, all the credit for that one.
The only image that caught my attention that I was like, I don't see that one happening is seeing the car being lifted into the UFO and the person just holding a camera to it.
Yeah.
Like, I think they'd more be running.
Yeah, probably.
I did think that when I was putting it in the video, and I thought, no, because it's a good perspective.
You know, but there are people that probably would stand there and film their car getting taken away so they can go, hey, insurance, am I insured for this?
Is it an act of God?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
Natural occurrence.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So, as you mentioned, I am Michael Kopf. I am a paranormal investigator. I have been having paranormal experiences since I was 2 years old. And I did a few things of going around and having paranormal experiences when I was traveling abroad in Egypt and France.
Yeah.
And places around the US, but I never really was like, okay, let me go investigate this because I thought this was only on TV. People do that it wasn't a real thing.
Yeah.
And then I got approached like 4 years ago or 4 or 5 years ago to join a team. And I was like, whoa, this is real. People actually really do this as teams. That's cool.
Yeah.
So I joined a team, and the very next day I went on a paranormal investigation, and I was hooked, and I've been doing it ever since. I recently did a look. I have investigated in 3 countries. Well, experiences investigate and actually investigated in 7 states so far.
Wow.
And so it was really kind of fun. And a lot of the times I've realized when I first started, I was thinking, okay, this is going to be like, if I want to do this for a living, or if I'm going to put my name to this, I got to do it right. I got to make sure I can do it professionally. And, all these guidelines. And I was like, strict. I was like, and then I watched Tennessee Wraith Chasers doing I think it was one of their haunted live shows.
Yeah.
Where they sort of spooked and pranked a newbie, as they called him.
Yeah.
And was laughing and cutting up, and I realized, wait a minute, I can have fun and be taken serious in this field.
Yeah.
And once I made that shift, I was like, wait a minute, I'm starting to have experiences now.
Yeah.
So I realized, yeah, you definitely got to go into paranormal investigating, having fun.
Yeah.
And being careful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You've got to get a good balance.
Yeah, you can combine the two. You can do it, so, as you know.
Yeah.
Right. You're not in an office answering to someone, so you don't have to be the guy in the suit, being judged.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's
so what was your first investigation then?
My first investigation was Yorktown Memorial Hospital.
Right.
Which, if you've seen Destination Fear, they went there.
I've seen that one.
And my first experience there, I've been there 3 times. The first time, I to me, it felt a little flat because I think I was so into it, just trying to document.
Yeah.
I wasn't really having the fun of what's going on and opening myself up to it. But the second and third times I went there, I was like, man, I'm having equipment going off that I can't explain why it's going off.
Yeah.
And my favorite experience was I put a motion puck on a nurse's station that was in a corner. And in order to touch the puck, you'd have to walk through, the counter or anything.
Yeah.
And it was constantly lighting up that something was approaching it from the counter. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is how close you have to be to set this off. I'm literally halfway in this counter.
Yeah.
There is no way I'm walking by this and triggering this. What the hell is going on? And I would move it into a hallway, and then all of a sudden they would start to move and show motion from the wall, not a doorway, from the wall.
Right.
And so I was like, man, I can't use this puck because it only works if you're standing right there watching it. I don't have the DVR system like a lot of people use.
Yeah.
To where I can have a camera on it 24/7 to go, hey, look, look at what we got going on. So, yeah, that was my first location, and I was glad that was my first one because it really opened me up, and there was a jail cell on the bottom of it, and I was like, why? And it's like my first thought is, why is there a jail cell down here?
Yeah, that's a bit odd.
Strange. Yeah. So, sorry, I can't speak. What's your favourite from the ones outside of the US? So out of the other countries that you've been to?
Well, my favorite one for Egypt was I'm inside, like, I guess the catacomb section of a pyramid.
Yeah.
In Saqqara. And there's all these sarcophaguses around.
Yeah.
And I take a picture of one, and there's this blue light that shows up in the corner that looks like something is stacking up. And I'm like, there's no blue lights down here. What is causing? And there's like no actual light in this spot where this is. What is this? And I posted, and people were saying, "Oh, I see a hand," or "Oh, I think it was a flash, glitch." And I'm like, "No, this is no flash glitch. I've seen those.
Yeah.
So I still to this day have not been able to explain what that blue light was.
Did you get any feelings or anything from it? Was any sound, any smell?
I didn't get any sound, and to be honest, if there was a smell, I'm not sure I would notice because I was in the bellows of a sandy pyramid. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of smells
Yeah, I can imagine that.
in a confined space. So it's like I'm not sure I could identify down to one, but
Yeah.
I would say feeling wise, I would have had to have been drawn to something because why else would I have taken a picture at that moment to catch that?
Yeah.
Mm.
Would you class yourself as being sort of psychic?
I wouldn't say psychic, but I would say I have, like, I've kind of coined it as like a spidey sense. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
if I walk into a room, I can feel like, okay, something else or someone else is in here with me.
Yeah.
Or maybe 3 or 4. Where they're at, I'm not sure. But it's like I can sense they're there. And sometimes I feel like I'll hear them. And I'll start to turn to look to say, okay, where's this voice coming from?
Yeah.
Right. So, I've never had that. I've never heard anything. I've heard, I was saying that I have, but we've always been out and about. Never really when we've been investigating inside a house.
No.
Because I've done, before I did the live streams, used to investigate and that, but never filmed it. And never really heard anything while investigating. I have done when I've been in the house on my own, seen stuff, but people shouting your name and all that.
Yeah.
But not it's horrible. Don't like it.
Yeah, one experience that got me was when I was in France. I was at Rennes Chateau, and it's after midnight. I'm sneaking around town because I'm not sure I'm supposed to be there legally. So being quiet. And I'm with a friend. And I asked my friend, I was like, you know what? Let's start heading back. And so we're like, okay. And we turn the corner and he's like, hey, I think there's something down here. I'm like, you go check it out. I'm going to keep going. And I look up from the path and there's a lady in white that floats by.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she looks at me and she floats right into the Tour Magdala. And I'm like, okay, there's no doors here. That's creepy. Well, and then I was like, okay, so that's cool. And then I see a couple eyes down the path when we reconnect and we decide to head back. The next day we get to a castle and they say, oh, if you've seen a woman in white, that means you're been marked for death. And I'm like, crap.
Can I go and see it?
I was all geared up to that afternoon to tell my friend that was the host of the event that I had this experience, and then I saw that and I was like, I'm keeping my mouth shut. Maybe if I ignore it and don't speak about it, I'll get away with it.
Yeah, it never happened.
It was funny because it was like 2 years before I started paranormal investigating that happened. And it was like last year that I finally told my friend that was hosting it, yeah, I had this experience. And she's like, what? And I said, and this is why I didn't say anything. And she starts laughing and goes, I wouldn't have said anything either.
I think I'd have just gone home.
But I was like, and I'm like, after that moment, I was like, I didn't go out at night much. And I was like, I'm just gonna play the good boy on the rest of this trip.
I'm gonna stay in my house now for the next 10 years.
Avoid trucks with logs on them and shit like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's funny how your mind automatically picks up on certain things. I'm sure there was more to the story, but the only part of the story I got was See woman in white, you're marked for death. Great. It's like the
Your card's marked.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
That is funny.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd have found it funny, but that
No,
is
I
funny.
think at the time I'd have been beeping myself and running and
Yeah.
crying. No,
I know. I'm sitting here going, what do I do? Because I'm in a foreign country. How do I explain
Yeah.
I'm going to die from unnatural causes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to me on the way home on the plane?
Am I even
Yeah.
going to get home?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll walk home. It might be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no! Just going back to what you're saying about hearing voices and that. I've heard whistling and like low noise conversations and humming and singing, but you can't make out what's being said or sung.
Yeah.
That's as
Right.
far as I've not heard like a conversation like what we're having now. I've heard like muttering and mumbling or something, and that's as clear as it's ever got.
That's the same for me. If I
Yeah.
hear it audibly, I'm like, I could tell you there's voices, but I couldn't tell you what they're saying.
Right. Okay. I weren't sure if you was picking up different than to how I hear it. So it'd be like, say there's a couple of people in the distance, you can hear, you can hear the vocals, but you can't make out anything, any of the
Right.
words or what the conversation's about.
And
I didn't know if you was getting it different to what I am.
no, and for me, the mumbling is so hard to understand. I couldn't even tell you if it was male or female when I hear it a lot,
Right.
most of the time.
No,
I'm
I
like,
can make
it's a
out.
voice.
Yeah, I can make out like male and female, but that's it. I couldn't even give you one word or one syllable or anything.
Yeah.
Or
Now,
even with
if,
the singing's like sounds like really distant. Do you know like when you've seen these movies and it's like there's a gramophone playing in the background,
Yes.
and then you
Right.
can hear a woman singing, say from argument's sake, the 1920s. Got an impression of someone, and you
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Like you can hear a what's it called?
Melody.
Yeah, you can hear like you can tell it's someone singing. It's a melody. It's not someone talking.
Yeah.
That's all I've ever got.
I can't say I've ever heard someone singing. That would be kind of cool to catch, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that when I wasn't recording it. It was a place where I used to work, and we used
Isn't
to
that
hear
always
it.
the case?
Yeah, I actually left that job because of the stuff that was going on in the basement.
Oh, see, I would have stayed.
Yeah.
I would have been like, free investigations, man. I'll
Oh,
just go
it's
down to the
awful.
basement.
Well, I worked there from 4 in the afternoon till midnight, and I used to have to go in the basement on my own. And it got to the point was I'm taking somebody with me or I'm quitting this job. That's how bad it got.
Yeah. See, I had experience where I was in West Virginia at a school.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the famous school or not, but the school was called the Ramsey School.
Right.
And my friend and I are with another friend that we met up with, and we're walking around, and I go into this classroom.
Yeah.
And I do break the cardinal rule. I do sometimes wander off by myself during investigation.
Yeah.
But as I'm in there, I step into this closet, and all of a sudden it's like I feel like something has just grabbed a hold of my shoulders and tries to push me through the floor. And I'm like, I'm not going through the floor. Stop. And so shouldn't it be in this area? And I get in the hallway, and my friend is like got a look of shock and laughter on his face, and I was like, what's going on? And they go, my hat just got flipped off my head. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I'm like, where was I? Why doesn't this happen while I'm there to watch? I was like, you got your hat flipped. I'm being pushed through the floor. We're going to have some fun.
Yeah.
And so our friend walked off, and she was talking with the owner, I think, at the time. And my friend and I decided we're going to split again. And I was about to head into another classroom on the other side, see what's going on.
Yeah.
And we both hear this girl call his name. And we both turned and looked at each other. And he's kind of giving me this look. And he's like, "Did you hear that?" And I'm like, "Yes, I did hear that. Couldn't
Yeah.
tell you where it's coming from, but I heard it." And we're like, in just a second, like where you're but like, okay. And about, to return to normal investigating, we hear a giggle. And both of us run up the stairs because we're like, this is where it's coming from. We're going to go find out who this kid is that's pranking us.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I go out onto the upper riser balcony area and I'm looking down at a stage and there ain't a soul in there. And my friend is standing at the door and he's like, "This is as far as I'm going." I'm like, "All right, what's going on here?" And we're like, okay. So we decide we're going to walk around and we get up to the top level where there's a story of a child or a student that jumped out of a window and committed suicide.
Yeah.
So we're like, "Oh, that sucks." So we get up there, and lo and behold, there is one room that is just coated with flies. No flies anywhere else, but there is just a whole bunch of flies in there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going in there.
No.
I'm just going to, let that room have that. And my friend and I kind of talk and we do our own thing and explore a little bit. And then we get together at the end and we say, okay, well, we're going to continue our little road trip that we were on. And thanked everyone for the experience. And we get to the car and my friend puts his arms on the cross on the car like this and looks at me in a straight face and goes, "Thank you." And I was like, "Thank you for what?" He goes, "Thank you for not running." Because we're in a chat group and we're always talking about how we'll run towards anything, but you never know until you're in that moment. And so I was like, yeah, I was kind of surprised to myself that I ran right to the voice instead of running out of the building.
Yeah.
So, what's the most haunted place in Texas then? You said you were from Texas, didn't you?
I am in Texas right now, and boy, I don't know that I could pick the most haunted that I've been to. Jefferson, the city of Jefferson has a whole lot of history and haunted locations there that, it's like, wow. I've been to Mineral Wells and there's a couple good paranormal spots there. One that unfortunately closed recently.
Oh.
But the other one that opened up is on a military base.
Right.
And it's called Fort Walters. And the history of it was actually started as Camp Walters during World War I, and then it became Fort Walters. And the most distinguished and the least distinguished soldier in World War II trained at that base.
Right.
And so it's like we got the full spectrum from the worst to the
one
best.
end to the other.
But I also found out that it was a German POW camp there.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was before all of this, we then found out it was on Native American land. So there was, raids going on. But it was then closed and then it opened up for Vietnam where all the helicopter pilots trained to go to combat. And so we have had EVPs of little girls little girl that wants us to play.
Yeah.
Right.
We've had a doll that laughs, but we can't figure out how it's laughing because there's no batteries in it.
You see,
Yeah,
dolls freak me out.
can keep that one.
Yeah.
We have a bathroom in there where the stalls tend to open and close on their own.
Ooh.
Ooh.
And it's, and there's so much stuff going on in there. And I was recording a session. We were doing EVP work and doing apps on the phones. And I crack myself up every time I see this. And it's like, I was like, I'm so glad I recorded it. Was these two ladies were in this one room, and I come in and they're doing their thing. And all of a sudden the app goes elderly. And it goes, who are you calling an elderly? Are you saying I'm elderly? And the app goes, sure. And she goes, how rude. And I was just laughing, going, wow, you just got called out by the ghosts.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's
And
good.
I'm like, and in that moment too, I'm also thinking, wow, ghosts have a sense of humor too.
Yeah. Is there anywhere in Texas that you really, really want to investigate that possibly you couldn't, but you'd like to?
One would be the Alamo because it's like a very key point to our independence as a state. Another one would be there's a courthouse in Gainesville where they did some lynching, and I'm not quite sure how open they would be to allowing people to come in.
Yeah.
And some more of the military base would be fun to do, like the barracks and stuff where life's going on.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like everybody will assume, yeah, you go to the pads where they practice, that's going to be your worst. And it's like, no, probably the worst activity will be where they hung out because that's where they probably would go when they're done.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, if I can go anywhere, why would I go to the trauma? Why not just go where I can relax and just where life was good?
Chill out.
Yeah. So is there anywhere where you want to go that's not accessible, or have you been anywhere without giving too much away?
One place I'd like to go, and I don't know why, but it's like it pops up in my head all the time, is the Island of the Dolls down in Mexico.
Oh, I've seen videos on that.
Oh.
It's like I feel like that would be like my coup de grace of would I run or stay moment. Being there.
Yeah.
It's like the crucible.
You would find out.
Yeah.
Another spot is the catacombs in Paris and the tunnels under Edinburgh.
Yes. Very creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely do the one in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do. I've been past there, but I was working, so obviously I couldn't go in. But when we was driving past, there's like half hanging out the van. It wasn't just me head; it's like half my body leaning out the window. Can we not just stop there for half an hour?
Another place that I'd like to do, but I'm I would almost say afraid to do, would be Rome. Because you got the Vatican secret police around that they can make you disappear, and it's like if they don't like what you're doing, you're gone, and it's like you ain't coming home.
Yeah.
Well, they've made a lot of history disappear, so a couple of people ain't going to matter, are they? I didn't say that, by the way. That was Joe.
That's just a quote.
Yeah, there's no secret police in Rome. Absolutely not.
Yeah. No, that'd be a great one, wouldn't it? If you could actually get into the Vatican.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm meaning places like the Colosseum.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The national monuments, just to like see if you could get the history of what was there, people's reactions, feelings.
Yeah.
But the Vatican, I think I'd be too far into a rabbit hole that you may not want to get out of going into there. There's some dark stuff that's happened in the Vatican.
Oh yeah,
constantly going on, isn't it?
I should think there's a lot of stuff that goes on at Pompeii as well. You know, from all the bodies that they sort of unearthed that were all. I should think there's quite a lot of activity there.
Yeah. It's just you got to get past the historical society.
Yeah.
I think because people have a notion, like when you say investigate, they have a tendency to think you're going to be digging in the ground or disturbing stuff. And it's like, we really don't. We kind of just
walk around, and
the most disturbing thing we do is sit our butt down on something.
Yeah, listen.
That's as destructive as it gets. Is we'll disturb the little dust pile by sitting on it.
I suppose the other thing about Pompeii is as well. I suppose it'll be classed as a grave, won't it? Because they've left the bodies there, and
and
maybe that's
well,
why.
And it's UNESCO. The UNESCO they tend to shy away from letting people just wander around and do stuff after hours.
The insurance as well.
I've got one quick question. Just come to me then. So, where you have these haunted premises, what do you think happens when say that building gets demolished and there's been numerous ghost sightings or spirits, whatever you want to call them? What do you think happens to the spirit?
Oh, I think the spirit remains attached to the land, or if they feel like, well, maybe I'm at peace now.
Yeah.
This is gone. I can move on or move to another location.
Yeah.
I don't think they're ever locked to a certain spot, no matter how traumatic an event is. I still feel like they can go anywhere they want to go.
Yeah.
It's just when you're addressing them, that's where we know, and that's probably where it's easier for them to come through.
Yeah. Now, the only reason I'm asking that, there was a pub up the road from me. It'd been shut for a few years, but there'd been a lot of sightings. There's a young girl, about 5 or 6 years old, and there's an older gentleman, I'd say in his 50s, 60s, and a few people have been going and investigating. It was right on the road as well. So people driving past would see faces up at the window and all that. And it was about 6 months ago, they demolished the building. It wasn't big. It wasn't a big place, and the land wasn't that big. You could probably build about 2 medium-sized houses on it. So even the car park, you probably only get about 20 cars in the car park. So it's I'm just curious as to what people think happens to them when stuff like that goes on.
I would say I'd probably say because they're probably more attached to the land than the building.
Right.
That I would say they could almost go into slumber until something like if the pub is demolished and it's just the foundation, they may just go and sleep and be like, okay. And then when people start building on there, they're like, oh, wait, who's disturbing our space? What's going on? And make a reappearance.
Yeah. Yeah, because at the moment, it's just flat land. I think they're building a small apartment block on there. So I'm hoping once it's built, I'm going to have a drive up and see if I can find anything going on.
And it may take a little while because, it's, we think, they're watching everything. And so they'll automatically be like, hey, but they kind of got to get to know what's going on too.
Oh,
and be what is this? Oh, yeah. Don't want to touch that. Don't want to go near that.
Yeah.
Oh, there's less people over here. Maybe we want to go over here.
Yeah, like keep out the way sort of thing.
Like the little girl, she may want attention, so she's like, where's everybody at? And figure out that's where I want to go play. Whereas the older gentleman may be like, I'm not so much into this, whatever they're doing. let's go find a quiet corner and just
go and
sit.
chill somewhere. Yeah. No, that's cool. Right, we've got a few questions from the viewers. We'll start with this one from, sorry, 1 second, from Rick Allen. Why does Michael think there's an increase in paranormal happenings?
So I would say one is more people are aware of it now. It used to be something we didn't talk about, so it was kind of underground. So now that we're able to talk about it, people experiences and everyone, it's not getting shunned by it, so it's becoming more popular.
Yeah.
Another thing I would say is the ley lines around the planet are becoming more energized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's giving them more energy to do what they feel like doing. And I would say with the energy of the planet and all the stuff that it's going through with this galactic alignments and everything is also feeding energy that's allowing spirits to say, oh, hey, there's people here now that can see me and or can understand me. So, hey, let's, I finally have someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a quick question. Have you ever seen a UFO?
I believe I have. And I can do one better. I believe I've seen a UFO battle.
Wow. Tell us about that. That sounds interesting.
So this isn't a video that I was going to put out this week, actually. So you guys got dibs on getting a preview of what's coming. Is when I was doing fundraising, I was outside of a building, storefront, and I was starting to clean up, and there's a highway going by, and I look at something says, look up.
Yeah.
And I see this black object just sitting there in like a purplish sky. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, that's pretty cool. So I look down, gather my stuff up, and I look up. The object is still there. And it's probably been like 5 minutes. And I'm like, how is it still in the exact same spot?
Yeah.
So I photograph it like 3 or 4 times. And in the process of photographing it, taking down my stuff, going inside, checking out, coming out, gathering my stuff to put it all in my car, the object is still in the same exact spot.
Yeah.
And it's quiet. So I'm like, that rules out helicopters because those things, you can hear those things, no problem.
Yeah.
I don't know of many planes that can just hover and spot for long periods.
No.
So I'm like, I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, so I can't identify what exactly it looks like. It is flying because it is over the tree lines.
Yeah.
And it is an object. So I'm just going to call it a UFO.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, as for the experience of the battle, as I call it, is I got my mother out because I had come home and I was like, just randomly was walking in the front yard at night, and I look up and I see what looks like a cloud with multicolors going.
Right, yeah.
And so I go inside and I'm like, hey, do you want to see something really cool? I think it's a UFO battle. She goes, what do you mean? I said, you got to come out and check this out. So we come out. It's a cloudy sky. One cloud has bursts of light, like flashes on both sides. Different colors. They're not the same colors. So I wouldn't say it's like lightning because there's no streaks of light. It's just a flash of light around the cloud. And it's one cloud out of a cloudy sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know what's up there, but it looks to me it'll be a battle. So I'm calling it a UFO battle.
Yeah. That's
so
mind blowing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've only ever dreamt of UFO battles, but they felt so real.
Yeah.
It was like Star Wars.
And it's like, you look at these bursts, and if the bursts of lights were all yellow, say, then I would be like, maybe that, it's just a storm or something in that cloud. It's a storm cloud interacting. But to have like yellow and blue or blue and green, two different colors going almost simultaneously, I'm like, something doesn't seem natural about this.
No,
was cloud. Yeah, I was just going to say, was anything else going on at the time? Or
it was just a quiet night, and to be honest, I couldn't even hear what was going on, and the bursts of light were quiet. It's like if you just didn't look up and see them, you'd never know they were going on.
Yeah. Fabulous.
I'm going to have to keep looking up.
I know, you say I look up quite a lot now.
I do, but I never say anything.
Yeah.
Never.
I mean, and the ironic thing is, it's just a matter of, if your instincts say look up, you just got to trust that there's a reason and look up. Yeah. Of course, if you're driving a car, I would suggest you stop the car maybe.
Pull over.
Well, slow down and do
Don't be driving and going, hey.
Don't tell everyone. No, I just slow right down to like 1 mile an hour.
Yeah, because if you get imagine it doesn't matter if you pull over or not, you still might get abducted traveling.
I know, yeah. I'm like, van straight up, gone.
Yeah.
I even had, I don't know if it's UFO or what it was, but I was coming out of, it might have been an investigation or it might have been a work day at the Fort Walters base because I helped them out. I come out of the building and I'm walking towards my car and I look up and it's like a light was like here and just goes like this and just zipped out.
Oh.
And I'm like, it wasn't close, but it was because, I had to look up. But I was like, and then the owner's husband comes out and he's like, hey, what's going on? I was like, yeah, you're not going to believe this, but I just seen a light just zip away. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
So, amazing. Right. Another question.
Yeah.
Another one from Rick Allen. Does Michael believe that fate or destiny brought him to this point?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would like to lean towards destiny because I just feel like, well, fate and destiny may be the same thing because fate put me in a position to where I was raised to where I could be open to all of this.
Yeah.
And therefore, the destiny of being an investigator was just allowed to happen. And I have support of friends and family around me. So I could almost say I would believe it's both, a combination of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any... Yeah, it's an interesting question. I was just going to ask if you had any childhood experiences, any strange things in your childhood that happened.
I did when I was 2 years old. This is kind of a funny story, not at the time, but when I tell it is when I was 2, I was in the attic of a 2-story building that had a basement.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm looking over a vent shaft, and next thing I know, I'm on the concrete ground.
Oh.
And of the basement, and the only thing that happened was my eyebrow got nicked by a wire.
Right.
I got up, I was fine. It's like, they checked me out. I had no broken bones, no damage. But it's like, and the reason I say it's a funny story is when I became a teenager, it's like I had a flash of that moment, and it's like I remember, and I start remembering more and more about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, as I was going down, there was this lady and that's kind of like had like an angelic glow that was like holding me, and it's like and talking with me, and it's like, and we had this conversation and was asking me questions, and I answered, and I answered, and
Yeah.
I'm like, and they're all like going, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah. And it's like, because the way I'm describing it, it seems like maybe like 10 minutes have passed. But anybody that knows, when you're free falling, it ain't no 10 minutes from to go
2 seconds
through 2 floors to a basement.
Yeah. So what do you think happened?
I think I was pulled aside and given an option of, do I want to be open to do what I want to do, or do I want to close that door and say, you know what, I don't think this is the right time, and so choose a different time.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. That's strange, that one.
It is very.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the strange ones. They're the best.
I do, yeah.
I know they're creepy, and I like them for the right reasons.
Well, and the funny thing is when you think about it, at 2 years old, how do you, it's like, who thinks a 2-year-old has this sense to go, okay, this is what I want my life's purpose to be, so yes, we're going to do this, and this, and this.
Yeah.
Do I carry on watching cartoons, or do I move on to the next round?
Yeah.
And to be honest, I gotta think, because I had that experience at 2, is why I'm ingrained to run towards like disembodied voices and stuff instead of away.
Right, yeah.
Is because it's like, okay, this is what I signed up for, and why not?
So do you think that was the start? Sorry, do you think that was the start of what you do now, and like the main reason behind it all?
I think it is, because it got me comfortable. Like, I didn't grow up in mainstream religion. I grew up in kind of more spiritualistic.
Yeah.
So like mediums and the people like that, and channelers, I grew up around them. So I'm pretty, comfortable with that idea.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think because I was around that, the thought of hearing a voice in my head doesn't freak me out or make me go, oh my God. Instead, I'm like, okay, so what's going, what's the, it's more at ease with it. So
let's check this out. Let's see what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah.
Cool. That's good. I like that story.
Really.
Yeah.
Right. Next question is from Josephine Weeks. Surprised it doesn't mention Dogman, but anyway.
Yeah. We'll get to that later.
Sorry, Joe. What's your scariest moment?
My scariest moment, I would say, I would say the one that jumps out to me would be Old Park Hotel in Ballinger.
Yeah.
It was my first time investigating there, and I just got done trying to do an Estes method, and they were talking about how something was trying to come after me. Yeah. Whether it was demon or just a dark entity or something. I don't know what it was. But for the whole rest of the night, my team leads would kind of be like teasing and going, oh yeah, you're sleeping on the end of the building, in the wing of the building all by yourself because you're the only room over there. And you're across from the room where you pissed off something and something's coming after you. So we'll hopefully see you in the morning. And I'm like, great, thanks.
All being well.
Yeah.
So I literally, that was the only time I've ever closed my door and like was like going, okay, I'm sleeping light tonight because if that door handle jiggles, I want to know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love it.
Cool. Do you want to do the next one, Deb?
Yes, I'm just flipping over.
All right. Well, I'll put them on if you want, and you read.
I've got it. Another one from Rick. What piece of kit is crucial to an investigator?
I would say the 3 pieces that to me are crucial: yourself, camera, and a flashlight. Yeah. You don't need all this expensive, big equipment like you see on TV. A lot of EVPs I get on a video that I'm filming on a camera.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't need to buy that. But with that being said, I am starting to open up to using cat balls and K2 meters.
Yeah.
I started with the K2 and then it kind of just, I wasn't getting much, so I just left it alone. And now I'm starting to see it again in investigations and activity. And so it's like my curiosity and it's peaked again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about using a ghost box? Is that, or have I got that? Is that the same thing?
I've tried using what we call the spirit box, and I don't like the static in it because I can't hear a lot of stuff through it. It's like my hearing automatically goes, there's static, and everyone's like, oh, I heard this and that. I'm like, I ain't heard crap.
Yeah. All I can hear is static.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, this is pointless to me. But I then started using a phasma box, which is the same thing as a spirit box, but it doesn't have the static.
Right.
All right. Okay.
Not heard of those.
I've not now.
I've in using the app, it's hard for me to use because it just starts throwing out these random phrases or words.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that could correlate to what we're talking about, or did we just go into left field and what are we talking about now?
Yeah.
So
so that's an app.
It is an app that I think you have to have a laptop to run it. It's not for a phone.
Oh, right. Got you. Yeah. No, I've not heard of that before. That's why when you said it was an app, I'm like, oh, not even close to what I thought it might be.
No.
Yeah, no. I've seen people use the Necrophonics app, and to me, it's kind of similar to an Ovilus, and so I'm like, I'm kind of 50-50 on it.
See, but I've tried them, and it's always been hit and miss. It's either been all or nothing.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it just randomly picking stuff at the right time? And then
see, that's what I think, because it's scanning radio waves. So it's like it seems to to me, just pick up something from a radio station, and it's like, oh, this, and puts it together and spits it out. I'm like, that has absolutely nothing to do with what. The only time I ever will say I was totally convinced by the app and I was glad I had it was I was doing a home evaluation or investigation, and I was up in the attic, and the team was with the Phasma box down below.
Yeah.
And they heard on there, Michael, danger. And I'm like, I'm in an attic. I'm not in any danger, whatever, And all of a sudden, I'm coming down the stairs, the stair ladder, and someone goes, hold it. I had a piece of wood stuck in my heel of my shoe with the screw that they had to pop out of my shoe. And fortunately, the wood was thick enough that the screw didn't go all the way through to the skin, that the rubber sole in the wood stopped it from hitting my foot. But I was like, okay, I was in danger. Thank you, guys.
So when something said hold it, was that on the app, or was that one of you?
No, that was my teammates downstairs
right, okay.
when I was coming down going.
Right.
And then they had this look on their face, and I was like, what? And that's when they told me the app had said I was in danger. And I was like, really?
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like the one time that I could ever say I would give 100% credence to that app.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, yeah, I don't know what this thing's talking about.
Yeah.
Half the time, so go for it.
That's amazing.
It is.
Warmed by an app.
I know.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
I know. But my favorite moment with technology was I was doing an EVP session with a couple of other paranormal investigators.
Yeah.
We were the only ones in the building. We're sitting in the lobby of the building, and because it's a military base, we thought, let's play cadence.
Yeah.
Because that's military, let's see if we get a response. And the cat ball's going off a little bit here and a little bit there. And we're playing this one long cadence. And you know how there's occasionally pauses in the cadence for, I guess them to catch their breaths?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the middle of one of these pauses, there's a male voice that says, pause it. Oh. And we keep going with the video, and everyone's like, well, that was obviously you. And I was like, no, it wasn't me, because if it was me, we would have paused it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I said to somebody, I was shocked that they actually knew the terminology to pause an app.
Yeah.
Right.
And somebody told me, finally, they said, well, here's the thing that'll blow your mind. I said, what? She goes, if it was a communications officer from World War II to current, they would have understood the frame pause because of them using that kind of technology for transmitting messages.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because I was sitting here thinking, damn, we got some clever spirits, but I never thought about, they would have been the ones that originated the technology.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Right, we'll have one more question, then we'll go to a break.
Yeah.
All right.
So, you kind of answered this one, but I'll throw it towards you anyway. From Umbraman, what's your first memory of a paranormal event that changed your life?
I would say this is a two-parter. It was during a road trip, and I was with my friend from Holland, actually.
Yeah.
He was visiting in Texas, and we went on a road trip. And we're in a hotel, and we're, sharing a room. So, you got the two beds and then the little luggage area and the bathroom. So I decide while he's watching TV, I'm going to go in the bathroom, take care of some stuff and check my phone for a second. I hear my name, and I'm like, dude, I'm in the bathroom. This, what I'm saying in my head is, I'm in the bathroom. Why are you calling my name? And so I'm like, okay. So I finish what I'm doing. I go out and I turn the corner to ask him what he wants. He's asleep.
Oh.
So the next morning when I get up, I said, by the way, at this time last night, what did you want? Because when I came out of the bathroom, you were asleep. And he goes, no, you don't understand. I didn't call your name. You called my name.
Wow.
We both heard a spirit at the same time. It was a female voice. But in my side of the wall, it was calling my name. And on his side of the wall, calling his name.
Wow.
And our voices. We both heard it thinking we were calling each other.
Yeah.
And so we were like, that blew our minds. And we were like, boy, we are getting ready to have some real fun. And the other part of that is we were in Arizona at the Grand Canyon. So this is my first time being there. And he says, "Do you want to see a paranormal painting?" And I was like, "Paranormal painting?" He goes, "Yeah. There's a painting in this hotel that the legend says is of the owner. And wherever you stand in front of this painting, he's always watching you. You'll always be in his sight." And I'm like, "Oh, I got to see this," because you always hear these paintings, but never actually see them.
Yeah.
And I get there and I'm filming this and walking. And I'm like, I kid you not, it has the creepiest feeling looking at this painting. And whether I was on the left side of the painting or the right side, the face never moves, but the eyes, I swear, were following me.
Ooh.
I was like, I put that video up and I was like, it was early, so it's like kind of like a little shakier than my normal.
Yeah.
But it was like, yeah, I was like, wow. Having this painting where the eyes literally follow, and you cannot explain it because it's not like you're going, "Oh, it's one of those holograms because the face is moving." No, the face never moves.
No. Oh, yes. Creepy.
It is.
I think I'd have checked out at that point.
Yeah, I think I would actually, yeah. It was.
Yeah, needless to say, we didn't stay at that hotel, but
no.
Yeah, it was a fun experience to be able to say, yeah, I have been watched by the owner of a hotel that I didn't even stay at.
Yeah. Right.
Well, that leads us nicely into the break.
Yes.
So 4 minutes.
Do 4 minutes, 8 seconds, Deborah.
4 minutes, 8 seconds.
Don't forget them 8 seconds.
Very crucial.
Yeah. Jo needs them extra 8 because of her crutches.
Yeah, she does.
Right. So be back in then.
See you after that.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And we're back in the room.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Right.
And we have more questions.
More questions. Deb, do you have any questions before we go? Or...
No, not at the moment, no.
Right, that's all right. Just checking.
Jude wants to know, do you think the reason it's difficult to catch evidence on camera is because the spirits know that's our goal?
Oh, that's a hard one to answer. I would say partially yes, because sometimes I don't think they want to be filmed. And I think the other reason it's difficult to catch the evidence is because we don't see it, even though it's on there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a double edge.
Yep. Fair enough. Next one is from Umbra again. What is the most verifiable best proof investigation done by Michael? I'm presuming that means done.
I would say if you check out my YouTube channel, I tend to post my stuff there. So I have EBPs that I've caught.
Yeah.
I have video of like cat balls going off where there's nothing around them. So there's no way, I could say this is somebody doing this.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I've put the link to your YouTube channel in the description.
Oh, thank you.
So people want to go and have a look, they can just click straight on it and then subscribe. So, yeah. All the information's on there.
The one moment that I will say solidified me using cat balls is it was on a bed, on a puzzle where pieces were taken out, what kind of resting on where like almost the rounded corner is.
Yeah.
And you never see the cat ball move, but it starts going off. We ask a question, just as it finishes, it goes off again.
Right.
And we ask a question, just as it finishes, it goes off again. And then we're like, if somebody's really here, do it again. And the second it finished, it went off again. It was the one and only time I've had 4 instances in a row of a cat ball detecting motion and lighting up.
And each time it waited till you finished talking.
Right. Or it would light up during the question. But still,
okay.
It was like right
after. One after, like, continuous.
It was like something sitting there going like this with it, just having fun. Like,
all right.
And it's like, it never moves.
Yeah.
Strange. Yeah. I don't think I'll use cat balls.
No.
It does add an element of humor to the.
I do keep looking at them on Amazon. It's like they are like only a few quid, a few pound. So it's like, do we get some? Do we not get some? So
if anything, it adds an element of laughter to the investigation because, like, the first time I seen them in use was a guy that was the team lead put him on the floor in this room. He had one on a floor and one on a chair.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here filming it for our team at the time alive. And he goes, okay, so who wants to play with my balls? And we all just start laughing and going, oh my God. And we're like cracking up and going, did you just seriously say that?
Yeah.
And he's like, and we spent like 5 minutes laughing and making jokes about the cat balls. And so, yeah, I mean, if anything, it helps raise the energy with the laughter of, you know, watching them go off or not go off and trying to get Spirit to play with cat balls.
Yeah. Right, next question is from Rick Allen. Does Michael notice anything that's different in the USA from the rest of the world?
I would say yes, because in essence of like population and people being here,
Yeah.
we're only like 200, 300 years of having like European people here as Americans. Before
Yeah.
that was Native Americans, and they were spread out. So, we didn't have a condensed population.
No.
Whereas, like, Europe, has the Roman Empire and everything for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Germanic tribes, there's the Celts, there's, all these different things, the Crusades, there's the medieval times of,
Yeah.
knights fighting knights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more historical energy to pull from, I think, in Europe and some of the other places
Yeah.
than in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not to say we don't have a lot, but it's just ours only goes so far back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we can say Vikings and those, but not to the degree like you guys could say, oh, yeah, we got Viking towns and cities. It's like we have markings. We don't
Yeah.
have cities anymore
Yeah.
because they were lost or
Yeah.
torn down.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think that we struggle with is Europe has the mentality of there have been people here for ages, where America, they had the tendency of saying we're only 300 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we're really not. We do have people that were here before, but we don't
It's
as
not.
a nation give credence to them and say, yeah, acknowledge
Yeah.
that, we
Yeah.
kind of stole your land and,
Yeah.
pushed you over here. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
we kind of try to sweep our dark history under the rug, where I think Europe kind of embraces it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally agree with you. Right. So next question is from Jude Sparkle's Kitten. Do you help the spirits move on after investigations?
Ooh, that's kind of a hard one for me because I've done it in the past.
Yeah.
When asked. If I'm not asked to, I leave them alone.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And one of the things I'm very cautious of too about doing that is like, no offense to like paranormal shows like Kindred Spirits.
Yeah.
But there was an episode where I was watching it, and at the end Amy says, "Oh, we helped the spirits move on and there's been no activity since." And I'm like, A, were you asked to do that? And B, I would have liked to have investigated that location, thank you.
Yeah.
But now it's like,
Now
what's
you've
the point?
Yeah.
It's
And
the void
it's like,
now, isn't it?
if the people are making their living off of that entity, it's like, and you passed it on, you just ruined their business.
Yeah, exactly.
You've just shut it down.
So I'm one of those, and I'm like, if the spirit and the owners are open to it, I will.
Yeah.
But if they're not in congruence, then I won't, because I don't want to be responsible for someone's livelihood
No.
Yeah.
being interrupted or taking a spirit from doing what it needs to do under the assumption that it's done because it's a spirit. It's like, maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know if they want to stay or go or move on or do whatever they want to do.
I mean, it would be like, not to go to cartoon, but like Casper, he's friendly. He's just helping people be, getting through life.
Yeah.
If I go and move him on, that kind of doesn't help anybody, and he was being helpful, and so why did I move him on? He wasn't hurting anybody.
No.
And so it's like, I always think, like, should I do it? No, unless there's like everybody is ready for that, then I'll consider it. But otherwise, no.
No, fair
Yeah, I
enough.
agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, Joe. I saw she just subscribed.
You subscribed, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Next question's from Warren. What is Michael's view on what ghosts, spirits actually are?
I would say, boy, this is going to get into metaphysics for me, is
Go for it.
Ghosts and spirits are energy. They're neither good nor bad. It's our perceptions of them.
Yeah.
And how we interact with them. With that being said, I also feel like some of them are interdimensional, and that's why we sometimes see them and sometimes don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a glimpse, as they may be jumping between portals of dimensions, and we just happen to be looking at that one middle spot where they were here. And I mean, it's like the Bigfoot, you know, I believe they're real, and I believe the reason we can't find them is they're either living in the center of the earth or they're traveling through the dimensions. And so that's why we don't get photographs, or all our photographs are blurry, is because I think they're in the gate being shifted. And so that's my personal beliefs and feelings on that. And I always tell people I never go into an investigation saying this is a demon, that's a demon, because I go look at society. If you walk into a room and I go, boy, that person's really dumb. And the next thing you know, 3 other people come up to that person and go, boy, you're really dumb.
Yeah.
And then 10 people come in and say, you're really dumb. What's that person going to think? They're dumb.
Yeah.
So why would I think the spirit world is any different of if one investigator comes in and goes, oh my God, you're a demon. 3 more come in and says you're a demon. 5 more come in and says you're a demon.
Well, I must be then.
If I'm a spirit, I'm going to be like, well, then shoot.
Yeah.
I'm going to start becoming a demon if that's what people want.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying demons aren't real. I'm just saying I think a lot of times they're just like a dark energy that's not necessarily demonic, just being misidentified.
Yeah.
Sorry, just quick question. Just going back to what you're saying about Bigfoot coming from Inner Earth. What are your thoughts on Inner Earth, Hollow Earth, whatever you want to call it?
I would say, I mean, we look at the caverns that we have and the cave arts and everything. I feel like, you know, we don't even know what the inside of the earth really looks like.
No.
We assume it's the core, inner core, outer core, mantle, the crust and everything. But there is so much that's unexplored yet because we don't have the ability to go into it.
No.
That I am a firm believer that, there are probably beings and stuff that live in the earth, and that's why you'll see, like, you know, it's kind of dark, but people disappear. And I think it's because either one, they're being taken for experiments by so-called governments. That's a deep rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah.
Or, you know, departments of governments that have nefarious, not governments themselves, but bad elements in governments. Groups of people that believe you have to do this or that to bring about a change that they don't really understand, or they think that's what they want. So or they're going inside the earth, or they're going to other dimensions, because there's no traces.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a tribe in Southwest America that got my attention, and I've done a lot of researching on, is the Anasazi.
Yes.
Right.
The pre-Pueblos. They were here. We know they were here.
Yeah.
Then they just completely vanished. There's no bones. And people go, well, they were eaten by cannibals. Cannibals don't eat bones.
No.
And they turn their bones to tools. Where are the tools?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like zero trace of this culture. And so I'm
No.
like, they either went into the earth, because they were burrowing into cliffs.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be hard to think they went and found a way to go deeper into the earth. And that's why we don't know where they are.
Yeah.
Or the other option is they found a portal and portaled to another dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah. You never know.
Because otherwise, we would have traces of where they went and what happened to them.
Yeah.
And if they were attacked by cannibals, that's a lot of bones.
Yeah.
It's a lot of bones, yeah.
Yeah. It's not like 2 or 3. It's like, I'd say at least a couple of thousand.
Yeah.
Oh, a few thousand at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
that's a lot of tool making going on.
20, 30,000. Where's the bones?
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Right, we've got a question. We've got I sounded like Scooby-Doo then. We've got a question from
I
Richard.
love Scooby-Doo.
I do, yeah.
Me too. Don't like Scrappy-Doo. They ruined it when they brought him in.
Yeah.
No.
I actually have a Scooby-Doo shirt that I investigate in sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's got Freddy saying, it looks like we have a mystery to solve. And Velma doing Jinkies, Scooby's doing Ruh-Roh. And it's like all their catchphrases.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Question from Richard. Michael, what are your thoughts on shadow people, and what do you think they are?
I think shadow people is a being that is kind of on the precipice of transitioning, and they're trying to determine, am I dead? Am I not dead? And they did kind of like, I don't know if you remember the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When they take Willa Lopez.
How the guy that was like doing all these like dark bad things, and these dark things were like hunting him, and
come
like,
up out the floor and out the shadows, don't we?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's what the shadow people are. Is they're spirits that have done something, and they just don't realize they're done.
Yeah.
And that their time is over, and so they're trying to keep going. And the fact that we only see them out of the corner of our eyes, to me, is kind of proof of that. Because if it was like a dark being, like people want to say they are, it would come at you. It wouldn't hide and keep. The second you see it disappearing, it would be like, okay, now you see me. Now let's go,
Yeah.
That's why I feel like it's more of a being that's trapped in trying to figure out why they can't move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Second part to that question, kind of, from Joe. Have you ever seen shadow people while you've been investigating? Or even when you've not been investigating?
Anytime.
I've seen them off and on when I was growing up.
Right.
Just around my house. While investigating, I have on occasion, like when the cameras are off, and I know that annoys me so much, but it's like, I'll be like, did you just see that? And it's like, you feel like something just blitzed by and out of the corner of your eye.
Yeah.
It's as soon as you stop filming as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
And I know you were one to ask me about Broken Bow Asylum.
Yes. Yeah, I did, yeah.
And my favorite moments there, 2 of them, all happened just as we turned the cameras off.
Yeah.
Is the first one is the first time I was there. I'm walking into the room and the owner is on the floor doing a session, talking with spirits. And so I'm like, I kind of walk in and I'm like, oh, maybe I'm interrupting. So I go to turn to walk out, and manifests out of thin air is this rubber prop of a bone that goes flying into a buffet kind of table that she's got stand. And we all sit there, and I'm frozen stiff because the impact is right behind me. And I'm frozen stiff going, do I run? Do I move? Do I turn around? Do I want to know what's behind me that made that banging sound? Because we didn't know what it was at the time. So I finally decided, I got to know. So I turn around and we put some light on and we find a prop of a bone. And we're like, where did that even come from? And we were like, wow. And I was like, that's the first time I've ever experienced something being thrown on an investigation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fast forward to the third time I was there. We were in a room. We just finished doing a dowsing rod session. And there's these little ping pong balls of eyeballs around because it used to be a haunted house. So we were like, okay. We turned the corner to the main hallway to the exit. And guess what? Right behind me comes a ping pong ball right into the wall, bouncing around.
Ooh.
And we're all like, nobody's filming, are they? And we're like, nope.
No.
So I finally broke down and got a body camera. So when I stop recording with all the other equipment, I'll be like, oh, the body cam's still running. Maybe I can catch this.
Yeah. But you'll be facing the wrong direction when it happens. So.
Well, but you can see the ball moving, and so you can say, oh, and you'd hear the impact. And, you see as you're turning, there's nobody there and finding what moved. So it's like, even if it's the aftermath, I'd be like, still, you're catching more than just going, oh.
Something's better than nothing. Yeah.
I want to just ask, seeing as you mentioned dowsing rods, how do you use them, and what do you think? What's the best way to use them?
I actually haven't used them,
right?
But I have 2 friends that do, and both of them will sit there and have the dowsing rods on their knees,
right? Yeah,
and they're holding on to the metal part that it's the handles through.
Yeah.
And they'll ask a question, and then when the question's over, they'll say reset. And so they'll put it back and then ask the next question.
Right.
So, and one of the things that I liked about one of my friends in Oklahoma when we were doing it at the asylum was somebody got excited and started asking a question before she could reset. She goes, hold on a second. Okay, reset. And it's like she literally froze the moment, reset the rods, and goes, okay, now you can ask your question.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead of just letting them ask and being like, okay, I think your answer is this. She's like, nope, if you're going to ask a question, we're going to do it right.
Yeah.
We're going to get the correct response.
Right. So she always says reset before the next question.
She'll always she'll say it or she'll think it. And so you can see the rods moving.
Yeah. So she'll always say it out loud.
And the one thing that I noticed that I think is crucial when you're doing the dowsing rods is you always got to figure out what your yes and no.
Yes.
Yeah.
And remember to explain to people, you have to ask yes or no questions. You can't say what color blue is the sky, because the rods are going to be looking at you like,
Yeah, how do I answer that?
Or a double question like, are you alive or dead?
Yeah.
It's like,
well, I've got the dowsing rods, and Ali, who comes out investigating with me, she was using them, and we was doing yes for when they cross over, and then no for when they open up.
Yeah.
Right.
And that, I think, if you stay with that, you can't really go wrong.
No, and if you position them, I think the one thing that I appreciate about them putting them on their knees.
Yeah, I'm going to try that.
And so that is, you realize your arms are more relaxed.
Yes.
So you're not like intense midair going, okay, I can't move my arms. I can't move my arms because that'll cause these to react. You can be still and the rods are free to move and do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Because one thing I've noticed watching some dowsing rods is people are like this with their hands out, and then you'll notice their hand slightly moves, and they're like, "Oh, I got a response." I'm like, "No, you moved.
Yeah.
You cannot move."
Yes.
And so that's what I see people out like this going, "You're doomed because your hand inevitably is going to start to tilt down." Or your arm's going to get tired, and it's like the rod will react.
I've never thought of like stabilizing them like that. That's a really good idea.
No, I just, when I've done it, practice, I've brought me elbows into like my ribs. You can't see, but bring my arms and then
we can't see your ribs.
No, I'm not standing up. So I bring my elbows into my side to like help steady my arms. Like you're driving, so you're holding the steering wheel, but my elbows are like into my rib cage.
Right.
So I try and do it like that to keep my arms as steady as possible.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is you got to watch how long you're doing it, because if your arms are outstretched, you know, like 10 minutes later, you're going to be like, arms are starting to go down, and you're like, oops, hold on.
No, so I'll bring, so I don't have my arms straight. I'll bring my elbow. I'll stand up a little bit.
Still, I mean,
so still,
like,
I'll bring my elbows like in like that.
Yeah, but you're all tensed up then, aren't you?
Yeah, that's the only. That's what I was thinking when he was saying about resting them, your hands on your knees. It's so much more relaxed.
Yeah, it is.
And if you look now, like I'm talking, my hands are slightly moving.
Yeah.
So because they're on my ribs, it's like my breathing is causing my arms to move. Very subtle. And so that could cause the rods to go flailing out or in. So that's why I would caution you, maybe try it resting on your legs and see if you get the same.
I'm going to try it this weekend.
I think I'm going to have a go with that now. That's a really good idea.
I'm going to sit in the back garden tomorrow.
You know, and a great way to test it is do like 2-3 minutes the way you do it.
Yeah.
And then 2-3 minutes the same questions.
And see what response you get.
And if one was a no and all of a sudden it's a yes, you can say, oh, well, maybe that was movement or...
Yeah. Well, what I think I'll do then, I'll set the camera up to video it, just leave it running. I'll try it the way I've been doing it. I'll try it the way you've just said.
Yeah.
And then I'll put the video up and see what you guys think.
Yeah. The only thing I would caution you about is don't say things like, am I talking with Bob? And if it goes yes, and then you switch modes and you go, am I talking to Bob? And it says no, and go, well, is that because I moved? No, it could be because Bob left. So that's the other thing I caution people about with dowsing rods is if you're talking with the spirit, make sure you're not asking such direct questions that they'll answer, and at some point the answer changes and go, oh no.
Yeah.
I wasn't talking to so-and-so. No, it's somebody else came in.
Yeah. That's what happened to us, and then we wasn't getting any responses afterwards. So we think who or whatever we was talking to just think they just got bored of us and went, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it does happen.
We were on investigation and we were getting all these feelings and equipment going, and all of a sudden it just went to a stop, and we're like, are you bored of everybody coming in and asking these questions?
Yeah.
I bet you are.
Yeah. They probably
Then we end it.
I've got shopping to do. I'm off.
Yeah. I gotta go pick up my ghost bride.
Yeah, I've got to go and buy some bed sheets. Go and scare the kids.
Yeah, I gotta go get my Halloween costume.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm definitely going to try that. Cheers.
Yeah,
for
I
that,
am as
Mike.
well. Yeah. Next question from Jude again. Have you always dealt with human spirit, or have you experienced other energies?
I have experienced energies of animals and humans and stuff that I just call energy because I don't know what it was, if it ever was human or not.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is we always assume ghosts and spirits were at one point human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They may not have been. They may have just always been just a free-floating energy that communicates this way.
Yeah.
So can you differentiate between, say, an animal and a human spirit? Do you get a different feeling for each one, or?
I would say the way I differentiate animal spirits versus human is when, like, for example, my dogs that have passed away.
Yeah.
I will hear their paw prints on the ground and I'll know they're here.
Yeah.
Or I'll feel like their energy and I'll be like, oh, you guys are here. Okay.
Like it was when they was alive. It's
right.
That feeling. Yeah.
Versus like humans, it's like, yeah, I can hear their footprints or maybe a banging sound. Something that animals wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Right.
And so to me, that's how I differentiate the animals from the humans is I kind of, in a way, go by the energy.
Yeah.
If the energy I'm feeling is more like a really strong energy, to me, that's probably more human than animal, because animals, I always tend to think like dogs, cats. They're small. They have great energy, but it's a different style energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like dogs have an unconditional loving energy. Cats, I'm not around a lot of them, so I really don't know, but I always get the opinion of they're going to have like a you're here to serve me type energy.
Yeah.
Cats are assholes.
I am your master.
Basically.
And fish, fish are like easygoing, just laid back kind of energy.
Yeah.
Because all they're doing is swimming around. And birds, it's like you could feel like, you're flying kind of energy.
Yeah.
Whereas, humans, we don't have the ability to fly yet. So unless you were a pilot, you're not going to get the feeling of flying.
Yeah.
So
we're not unconditional loving people yet because we'd have no wars then.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, yeah. So do you think that, so with the animal spirits, do you think that they know they're coming back as a spirit?
I think they do, but I think to them it's no different than when they were alive, because that's what they did when they were alive, is they were here for us in a time of need.
Yeah.
Right.
Coming back as an energy, they're here for us, as we need them, and it's the same effect.
Yeah.
We just don't see them, and so we can't like pet them and be like, I lovey-dovey on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that way, but I always feel like spirits, a lot of times, I kind of put them in two categories of how they interact. There's the spirits that are like, I want to communicate. I love the fact you can hear me. You want to communicate. Let's dialogue or interact.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I feel like the other category is they're like, I want to communicate. You're here for 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
I want to, create an interaction. You're here more to sell something. So I'm not going to bother with you.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why I feel like you could send two people in the same room. One will say, I had all these experiences and interactions. And the other person, they're like, nothing happened. It was flat. I feel like the spirits know who's genuinely there to communicate,
Yes.
paranormal investigate, and who's there to be like, oh, I could be on TV. I could do this or that. And doesn't really have its full heart into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quick question on that one. Sorry, I just want to jump in quick. So it's going to sound like a stupid question, but I'm being genuinely serious. So do you think, like, obviously spirits, people that have passed, do you think that they have pet spirits? Like we have a pet cat, we have a pet dog while we're alive. Do you think that they have them once they pass over as like a companion?
Well, in metaphysics, I was taught to believe when we pass over, we're met by all of our soul family, and that includes pets and everything.
Yeah.
So could they be there? Yes. Would they be there? I think it depends on the relationship you have. If you have a relationship where you're a spirit and you're like, oh man, I'm feeling dread and I'm feeling this or that, and the animal senses it, they could still probably come and keep you company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But would they make themselves known to an investigator? Probably not.
No.
Right.
Yeah, I get that.
And that's why I feel like a lot of times some spirits, even though they went through traumatic deaths, when we get around to quote unquote meeting them, they're not so like, oh my god, freaking out. Of course they've had time to cope with it, but I think too there have been other spirits that have come to help them realize you don't have to relive it.
Yeah.
You can let the experience go, you can talk about it without reliving it, and this is how it's done.
Yeah.
Versus I think the people, and the difference is the people that I feel like die suddenly, that's harder for them. And even a pet, I think that would be extremely difficult for them to understand. Hey, I know 1 second ago you were alive, but you're not alive now.
Yeah.
And so those, I think, are the spirits that, like, when we interact that are, like, in a way feel like they're freaking out or, like, really hard to understand, is because they haven't come to terms themselves.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, definitely.
Yep. Right. Thank you for that. Next question from Stockholm, Pearls and Views. Would Michael like to go to Stonehenge? Probably good chance of EVPs there.
Well, funny story about that. Texas, we have 2 Stonehenges. So I actually have been to one of them. Now, when I was in England, I didn't get a chance to go to the Stonehenge there. Would I have loved to? In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Is it on my bucket list? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it on my bucket list to investigate? You bet your bottom dollar.
Yeah.
If I got the opportunity, I would go in a heartbeat. Do I think there's a chance of EVPs? I think there's a good chance of EVPs everywhere we go.
Yeah.
It depends on what you ask.
Yes.
Because if you just go into places and assume somebody died there and just ask questions about that, you could be getting any number of spirits that have died there over the centuries.
Yeah.
Answering you. So I would say if I was to go to Stonehenge to do EVP work, I would be kind of like going up, asking questions like, okay, so, who put the stones up? When were these stones put up? Kind of like to get a baseline of who am I talking with versus just going, oh, so the druids put these up because maybe they were already there. We don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or be like, oh, did you get these from the quarry down the road where they say you did? And if they say no, be like, oh, so, where you got to know where it's another place, because if they say no, you're going to think, oh, nope, I'm not talking to the people from Stonehenge, when you're like, actually, you are, because it was the quarry on the other side they went to.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that, yeah.
So you got to have a baseline of history somewhat when going into places.
Yeah, true. Next question is from Umbraman. Does Michael have any spirits or beings that work with him regularly?
I do have spirit guides that work with me, and that whenever I not necessarily paranormally work with me, but in normal everyday life, like if I'm reviewing and making a video, and I'm like starting to doubt myself, I'm going, oh my god, this video is like pointless, there's nothing here, it's like a waste of time. Why am I even putting this out there? Because if I'm trying to build up a reputation and get people to want, ask me to come investigate and put this up, and this is what they watch first, they're going to be like, well, why am I inviting him? He don't get nothing.
Yeah.
So what's the point of, I'm wanting answers. And so they're always in the back of my mind and going, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And reminding me, you can't always get something. And it's like, they help me to remember even times when it's like, feel like, man, I totally blew it. I should just walk away. They're like, no, if you walk away, look at all this other stuff you've done.
Yeah.
How can this be your defining moment? And so it's like they kind of helped ground, I would say, is to ground me back to, okay, yeah, there's going to be ups and downs in this field. There's just like anything else. So they just kind of help remind me, yeah, you may have one bad investigation, one bad night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look at these other videos where you had great, experiences and everything. So you're going to let the one bad night define you. And it's like, I'll be like, you're right. And I'll be like, so I'll put it out and I'll see people start responding, oh, you missed this or that. And be like, I feel so much better because I missed it. It was there. So I didn't fail. It's just I wasn't in the right frame of mind to see it.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Right. Next question is from Rick Allen. Do you believe you've had previous lives? Or do you know you've had previous lives?
I'm kind of smiling and laughing because I was talking to Carla Norris, who she likes to call me her investigation husband because we go investigating together a lot. And she was asking me about past lives, and I said, and I was like, I started laughing. I was like, oh, I've had lots of past lives. She goes, how do you know? I said, I've talked to people.
Yeah.
And I've gone through hypnosis, with the metaphysics of, going to the proverbial door and opening it and making the choice. Do I want to leave the door open so that I remember everything, or close it and only open it when I need it? And, all these choices through lives, but I am a firm believer of past lives. And I was on another interview with a friend of mine, Andrew, who does a kind of podcast show like you guys do. And it's the crazy thoughts of a Brit and a Texan. And we were discussing, are we living in a simulation? And I was like, deja vu is the perfect way of looking at, we're being in a simulation in past lives, because how do we know where things are in buildings we've never stepped foot in if we weren't there? And if I wasn't there in this life, I had to have been there some point.
Oh, yeah.
So to me, that's like a validation that, past lives are real, because there's no other way to explain walking into a building you've never been in and pointing at something and going, that's where this was, that's where this was, that's where this was. And everybody looks in the records and they're like, that's where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be like me coming to, say, someplace in where you guys are, and going, oh, there was, a battle here and a battle there, and there's like no markers.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, looking up the record, like, oh my God, you have a clan battle here or a clan battle there. How did you know that? It's like, I just knew.
Yeah. So does that happen to you a lot?
It actually has happened to me a few times when I go to like Civil War battle sites.
Yeah.
I will sit there and it's like, I feel like I'm in a trance state watching a video.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, and it feels so real. It's like, and it feels like such a memory that it's like, everything I'm seeing is like, I remember this being here. I remember this being here.
Yeah.
And my parents took me to Vicksburg Military Park, which was during the Civil War, the siege of Vicksburg.
Yeah.
And it was a massive turning point in the Civil War. And we're sitting there in the car driving along, and all of a sudden I'll be like, I'll go, do y'all smell that? I smell blood in the air.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, and they're like, no, not really. And I'm like, do y'all see the troops over there? There's like a regiment over there. They're the Blue, the Union. They're skirmishing with a few Confederates over there. There was cannons over here that were raining down. And it's like I feel like I'm narrating the battle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That happened probably like 100 years ago in 1860s. It's, over 100 years ago. There's no way I could be there and know that. But I'm literally seeing the ground telling me the story of everything that's happened.
Yeah.
And to me, the only way I can explain that is it's a memory that came forward because I was in that position and opened myself up to see it.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to read in a book and say, oh, this happened. But when you go to the battlefields, you don't see like statues of groups of guys standing there going, oh, yeah, that's, I read about them in the book. There they are.
Yeah.
You only see the cannons or monuments.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't know whose is whose, what's what. Or at least that's not what we do.
No.
Thank you.
Right. Next question is from Joe. Has Michael an opinion on Dogman?
Now, are we talking about the Dogman tribe of Indians that have supposedly skipped through town or time, or...
No, the werewolf type dogmen.
The bipedal canines.
Yes.
Oh, cryptids.
Cryptids.
I have not come across a Dogman. However, that being said, I have had paranormal experience with like a wolf that was in the wild, there was no. It's like the physical wolf wasn't there, but it's like I had the vision that there was.
Yeah.
And marks to remind me of the experience. But I would not say I have familiarity of running across a spot where I could say, yeah, this was definitely werewolf territory.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of werewolves.
Yeah.
During Twilight series, I was on the werewolf team.
Team werewolf.
And it wasn't for the girl. I was just supporting the wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool how they showed them.
Yeah.
Right. Next one is from V. Does Michael see the lunar cycle having any bearing or impact on activity?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yes. I would say on the basis of when it's a full moon or new moon, the energy definitely feeds the, like I was saying earlier with the ley lines, the energy of the space of the nature around that. Yeah, their paranormal can pick that up and use that and really bring about, some more activity versus a normal everyday day where it's like maybe a crescent moon or, the waning. I'm not familiar enough with the waning, waning, and all that, but
Gibbous and all that,
yeah.
I do notice there are times when, if it's a full moon or new moon, that EVPs, I may get more EVPs in an area than I normally would.
Right.
Okay.
And Rick, I'm sure there are a lot in Texas. I just haven't run across them.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah, don't speak too soon.
Yeah.
Next question from Joe, our moderator. Do you know anyone that uses the pendulum, Michael?
Pendulum in investigating, I think I may have seen it once.
Yeah.
I use pendulum for myself in everyday life, but I've never tried using it in an investigation. It's got, strong science and validity to it. It's, to me, similar to the dowsing rods.
Yeah.
So pendulum versus dowsing rods, it's kind of a 50-50. So I would say, if you trust the pendulum, go for it.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. So I use a pendulum. I did it on a live stream, but it was only like sat at the desk here. But I use it same as you for personal stuff. I think it'd be quite difficult to use to do an investigation because of the type of questions that you need to ask. It needs to be more fitted towards your character and not like generalized questions.
Yeah.
Well, I would argue the only problem with the pendulum is it would have to be a yes or no.
Yeah.
Or what percentage of are you here, in this space? Because if, pendulum, yes, we can say, oh, the energy in this room is 50% you. Okay. Yeah. But if I ask a pendulum, are you here? It'll say yes or no, just like a dowsing rod. The only difference is you can break out of the yes or no questions more with the pendulum.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful what you're asking and how you're asking it, because in like my personal use, I'll be like, oh, is this chocolate chip cookie good for me? And I'll get yes. Well, yeah, it's good because it's a chocolate chip cookie. Who's gonna,
Yeah.
Who would think that's bad? But if I change the question to, is it in my best interest or is it healthy for me to eat this chocolate chip cookie now? You may get a no.
Yeah.
So you got to watch how you're framing the questions too.
Yeah. I think
always ask it so the answer's positive. Yeah.
No, I think you need to be very specific.
Yeah.
When
I would
using
say
the
the pendulum, you would have to have 100% certainty of knowing what you're asking.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next question from my lovely cousin, who didn't write in capitals.
Yes.
Slap him later.
Lines.
Right. Have you ever smelt smoke in the air when you have seen a ghost? Is the only time I have seen them, there was a very strong smell of smoke which disappears after the figure leaves. Now, we explained this later on in the chat. It's like a burning wood smell.
Yeah.
So it's not the sulphur smell, but more of like
not cigarette smoke.
Yeah, just burning wood.
So to answer your question, I would say before I answer that from my personal experience, I would preface that if this is somebody that you knew, like maybe was a personal relation, someone you grew up with, or someone you read about that you knew was like famous for smoking like a pipe or cigarettes or cigars, that when they make themselves known, they'll appear to you with the sense of smoke so that you'll be able to be more comfortable and say, oh, so and so's here.
Yeah.
Like you'll hear people say, oh, my dad loved to smoke cherry tobacco in his pipe.
Yeah.
And I can smell that in the air. Well, that's his way of letting you know he's here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have I smelled smoke like burning wood of a fire that's been in the past? On a couple of times I have.
Yeah.
But it's not something that comes up regularly. And it's not because they're not fires. It's because it's not how the location wants to be remembered, in my opinion.
Yeah. Right.
They're like, so much more has happened here besides a fire. So let's leave the fire alone, people.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Let's give a credence to these people over here.
Yeah. Right. Last question then is from Nickname. And anywhere in the UK Michael wants to visit and investigate? I think you did sort of briefly touch on that earlier.
Yeah, there's the underground tunnels.
Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Stonehenge, I would like to investigate. Ironically, I am a fan of Outlander, so those Ring of Stones, because I know they're real.
Yeah.
Would love to investigate those. One location that I mentioned, a lot of people don't remember, is Tinagel, the birthplace of Arthur. If he was real or not. Be like, that would be a cool place. And no for 100%.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Would be
We're frozen.
Like,
oh no, he's back.
The crystal caves that supposedly Merlin was trapped in.
I got the crystal caves that Merlin was trapped in.
Right, that was the last bit.
All right, yeah, it went off when I was just trying to decipher what you were saying. Sorry.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see that and experience, what that would be like.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of legendary places. Hadrian's Wall. I mean, there's a lot of places in the UK.
Yeah.
Including Ireland. I mean, there's castles, there's You know, obviously the battlefields.
Yeah. A lot of battlefields. There's a lot of abbeys as well.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Yeah. Like derelict ones and ones that are still in use.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. For the sake of tradition of family, because I do have some Scottish descendancy.
Yeah.
Battle of Culloden would be an interesting place to go see, and find out if I had family there, and if that would ramp up, and have family come up and be like, hey, yeah, it's interesting to meet, my descendant, or if they'd be more like, yeah, we don't know who you are, so we're not talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah. You're foreign. Go away.
Yeah. I don't understand you, so we're just going to let you go.
Yeah.
Right. That is a perfect ending. I think. A massive thank you, Michael, for coming on.
Thank you.
And sharing
thank
everything
you for
with
inviting me.
Really enjoyed that.
And teaching us some new ways of doing stuff.
Yes.
That I think we're both going to be jumping on over the weekend.
Definitely, yeah.
And if you never see us again, it worked too well.
Well, one of the things we're starting here in Texas to try and broaden awareness to is para-unity.
Right.
And the idea of, paranormal teams, they all have their specialties, but if you come together, how much more we can share with each other, and how much more, our investigations can grow because we learn new things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. It is. It's like, say, I suppose, trying different techniques, what works, what doesn't work, and sharing it, and like you say, expanding, and everyone not doing the same thing, but everyone getting involved with the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, and even if they're doing the same thing, the results aren't always going to be the same. So
I was going to say, it's not always going to be the same
outcome.
That was it. I know it was outcome. I can't think of it.
Yeah, and I will say, for anyone who wants to become an investigator, do it. Just 2 rules of thumb: have fun, and don't be attached to the outcome.
Yeah.
You got to be open and blank when going in, because otherwise, if you're focused on one thing, you're going to miss something else.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. So, thank you again so much for coming on.
Yes.
And sharing everything with us. And hopefully, I was going to say, hopefully you'll be back on again sometime in the near future.
Anytime, I'd be happy to come on.
Brilliant.
Because we do obviously we love the guests coming on, but it's good to get them back on and give us an update of what they've been up to in the gap between point A and point B. And just, it's just nice to come back and chat with you all.
Right, because, I mean, you never know. Next time I come on, I could have gone to a brand new location, a brand new state, and had a whole different realm of experience, and be like, or maybe like, hey, I met a dog man since then.
Yeah.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
Anything can happen. Anything at all. So,
right.
So, thank you, everyone. Oh, the question. Are you ready for this, Michael? This is a question for Deborah every single week, right? We have a shared calendar that we can both put stuff on. It's a digital calendar that we can both put stuff on, so we know who's on and when we're not doing anything, and so on and so on. Do you think she knows who's on next week?
I do. Lon Strickler.
Who's on before that?
What do you mean who's on before that?
Not got a clue. No idea. You don't think she does it every week? Every day of the week. So,
Who's this chap here?
It's a bank holiday in the UK because of the Queen's Jubilee.
Yes.
This is why we've got you on tonight instead of Friday, because I'm away for the weekend. So then next Wednesday, we've got another show.
Yes, we have, and it's with the return of that bloke we had on before.
No.
He's a lovely fella.
Oh shit, Sherlock. Really? So we've got Sean Chowdhury coming on.
Children.
He does it. He's a paranormal investigator. He's on the East Coast. I think he's in Rhode Island.
Yes.
Who said Rhode?
Wow.
But he does.
How many people want to claim that one?
Well, he does. He does.
They're small. This is the smallest state, but they are proud in stature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does. He's a practicing Wiccan. He's a practicing Wiccan.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah. So he's got a few stories as well. So it got to the point where we just ran out of time, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Right. Well, you come back on. We'll do the second part.
Part 2.
He's doing a part 2. Who's on Friday?
Nobody's on Friday because it's bank holiday.
Next Friday.
I told you that. It's Lon
Hey.
Strickler.
And what's on the day after of that?
The day after that is the 11th of June, our very first Codes of the Unknown 12th Dimension meet-up at Sherwood Forest.
Yes.
Ooh, Robin Hood.
Yeah.
So we're meeting at the... we can't tell you.
No,
yeah, we can.
Keep it going arrow anyway.
Yeah. No, we're meeting up in Sherwood Forest, and we're going to have a sit-down chat with everyone.
I'm kind of curious. Is there really a Loxley?
Yeah, I think there is actually, yeah.
Yes.
I really should know my history about that, but I don't.
Because I know I've seen on maps Nottingham and Sherwood Forest, but I've never seen on a map Loxley. And
I'm sure.
I've started hearing now Robin Hood was like Robin of Loxley.
Yes.
And so I'm like, is Loxley a real place? In which case, then Robin Hood really could be more of a real person, or is it just a name that was thrown out there that it's actually called something else?
Yeah.
Well, I might be getting this wrong, but wasn't Loxley Robin Hood's real surname?
Yes,
it was.
That rings a bell, right. Yeah.
Because a few years ago, I used to work with this guy, and his surname was Loxley, and he swore blind. He'd have the worst arguments ever with him that he was a descendant of Robin Hood.
Right.
And Maid Marian, or was it somebody else?
But he was like so adamant that he was like part of the family tree from Robin Hood. And he brought this thing and it made no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah. The only reason I was asking is like, we can say, Bruce of Smithington, and there is no Smithington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we take artistic license and just create places. And so that's why I was wondering if Loxley was like one of those where, the authors took artistic license and created a piece of land in England that really doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the name where they wrote Loxley there, it was spelled different. It was the Locksley. That was the way his name was spelled.
Yeah.
And he was he'd fight you. He really would fight you if you said he was talking crap. So he was adamant. And that was it. That's all I know. It was just that was it. I
got a funny story for you about genealogy. Yeah. One of my descendants was the original Guardian of Scotland, who met up with Robert the Bruce in front of a church and was murdered.
Oh.
And my friend in Holland, he came over and we met a friend that he has over here, and his name is Robert Bruce. And he says he is descendant of Robert the Bruce. And we looked at each other, and my friend looked at me and he goes, "You better be careful around him. I was like, yep, I am not letting history repeat itself.
No.
Yeah. Did you have a little book with him where he was crossing names out?
I know. It's like, yep, nope, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
You can have your Scotland.
Yeah, you can keep
keep it. Right, we're gonna have to go now.
Yes. So, who's on the week after?
Oh, I don't know.
Sorry, I've got to do this to you.
Yeah, no, you have, yeah.
It's more fun when she hasn't got a clue.
Andy,
it's that
you do know
bloke
that we
you
will be in
haven't
physical
talked
contact.
to yet, but you're hoping to.
Yeah.
So the week after that, we've got Earl Grey.
Yes.
Oh, good tea.
Yeah,
Like
very nice tea.
Yeah.
What Andy doesn't realise is that we're going to be in physical contact on the 11th, and I shall punch him and tie him to a tree.
Yeah. What she doesn't realise is I can run, she can't.
Yeah, well, this is true, actually, yeah. I'm taking my bow and arrow, though, so it won't be a problem.
Well, I'm borrowing Warren's. I'm picking Warren up from the station. He's bringing me a pair of green.
Side.
He's bringing me some green tights.
Oh, smashing.
Yep. Can't wait.
I might be falling that day.
Just do me a favor. When you put the tights on, don't do the Carrie Yule's men in tights and go, how's my seam?
You do know I'm going to have to do that now.
No, please don't do that. No.
Yeah, I'm going to have to.
I'd rather you didn't.
Just for some reason, when you mentioned the green tights, that popped in my head, Robin and men in tights.
Yeah. Well, there will be plenty of photos. I'm going to have to buy a pair of green tights now. You know this. Oh, well. Right.
Or
and on
just
that
get
note,
some tights and color them green.
Yeah. I'll just buy some legs. I'll just paint my legs green. That'll be fine. No one will know.
Oh, please.
Right. On that note, we definitely have to go.
Yes, we do.
Right.
Thank you everyone for coming on.
Thanks again, Michael.
And we'll see you next Wednesday when we're joined again by Sean.
Yes.
And then 2 days later, we're going to the lovely Lon Strickler. So
again? Yes.
Have a great 4-day weekend.
Yes.
And we will see you then. So take care and au revoir.
Au revoir.
See you then.